Hey, what's up, guys? There's been something that has really been just twizzling in my head that I have been thinking about a lot. That has kind of just been flavouring through my head, and I just really have to address this because it's that serious. Um, as I have made very clear, and I've said this many times, wrestling has and always will be my first love. As a baby, I was watching wrestling. My dad had me watching it when I was a baby. When I was a kid, I would always, every summer, I would go over my grandmother's house and my uncle would have me watch it on television. And I just grew more and more into it. And it has been something that has transcended and that has been a part of me for so long that it's almost hard to let go. And I promised myself after I had gotten to middle school that when I got to high school, I was going to join the wrestling team. Well, sometimes when you do things in life, you have a breaking point. There are times where you want to do something, but your body's telling you something else. And I guess the thing I'm trying to say on this video, and the reason why I'm trying to address this video, is because giving up a dream is hard to do. See, I spent all my life, watching wrestling. And I don't watch as much as I used to now, most of the time now, because I can't, I have so much work now. I'm in sophomore, so it's like I get so much work now. I keep up with it on YouTube. But I grew up an obsession to it, really started to love it. And I knew that high school wrestling wasn't going to be the same as the WWE kind of wrestling. But I still had on my mind, because of my love for wrestling in general, that when I got to high school, that I was going to be on the wrestling team. And last year, when I was in ninth grade, I did just that with a 2-5 record, which wasn't that great, but I still wrestled. I had on my mind I was going to be on the wrestling team, and I did just that. I had to do a lot of exhibition matches because it was a lot of people that was in my weight class at the time. Last school year, I wrestled at 152. This school year, I wrestled at 160. So it was just two different differences with the weights. But when I wrestled 152, it was a lot of other people on my team who weighed around that same weight. So a lot of times I had to do exhibitions. And when I actually did do a lot of matches, of course, majority of them I lost. But I managed to get 2 wins. One was by 4, one was an actual win. And the actual win I had was the one I'll never forget last year when we went against Friendly High School. We wrestled them. I led the way into Largo defeating Friendly High School when we wrestled them. And, last year when I wrestled, coming up into high school, when I wrestled last year, I had problems, but they weren't as bad. They were kind of minor. I didn't have severe problems to the point where I feel like, I got to stop this. I can't do this no more. It was just minor. I was, from time to time, I had back problems. One of the matches I walked out and my back was killing me. One of the matches. But altogether, I didn't really have that many body problems altogether, because the only reason why as a first year wrestler, the reason why my season ended so quickly was because of the fact that I had got sick, and that took me out from the counties, and I wasn't even able to wrestle at the counties. But, with the season in general, I did more than 7 matches. That's just the amount that counted, but I did way more because I did a lot of exhibitions. But, for the most part, as a first-year wrestler, when I would go out there and wrestle, the much I had was, for the most part, I would be in good condition. The only time if I wasn't in good condition, my stomach might be hurting from time to time, but it wasn't hurting as much. And, I didn't have to worry about my whole body being an issue last year when I wrestled. And, after that, after last year, after everything that happened, I've already explained on the video before of how it all began and how it was and the struggle I went through as a first-year wrestler and how everything like that happened. And off with a 2-5 record. Okay. So then we go to the summer, we go past the fall, and then I get ready to be a second-year wrestler. And as a second-year wrestler, I had the goal of having the beast be unleashed. Well, I did that, but I didn't do it. The only thing that changed was I had 4 wins this season that just passed, which was not that much higher than last season in high school. And I had a lot more losses because I did a lot more matches this season. But one thing that I noticed throughout this season that was a lot different from last season I wrestled is the toll that my body has taken. For some odd reason, I've noticed a change. See, last season it was like minor, but I've had a lot, and I mean a lot, and still currently am having a lot of back issues this season. I've had an issue with my leg at one point. My knees was bleeding during one of the matches, and my coach had to keep wrapping it around with tape. It's just so much that has happened this past season. My knees were messed up. My back was killing me. I've wrestled with a bad stomach, whether I was hungry or whether I had already eaten. Some matches I didn't have time to eat before the match, so I would just wrestle with a bad stomach. I wrestled almost sick this year because one time I wasn't feeling well, but I still wrestled, and I didn't really tell coach that I still wrestled. I didn't throw up enough, but I wasn't really feeling like myself, but I still wrestled. This season that just passed, I've had some of the weirdest conditions ever that I didn't really have last season. And I don't know if that's because I did less matches or if it's because, just my body in general. But one thing I've noticed is that as I sit here and think about these things, I begin to wonder, as much as I love to wrestle, as much as it is my love, as much as I want to do it, if it's really worth it. Because your body is not meant to be broken. And I had the goal of going to college and wrestling in college. And the thing about that is, every time I think about how my body has been suffering lately, not just from wrestling, but even after wrestling, how I've had all of these issues with my body in general, with my back, with my leg, with my knee. At one time it was my foot, and at one time it was my arm. All of these different changes just makes me really think, should I really continue to do this next year? And if I do, will it be my last year? Because, it's bad enough I had my mom worrying about me from the time I started this thing because of those things. But me, myself, I've seen this, and I love wrestling to death. I love it. I'm not just talking about professional wrestling. I love high school wrestling too, because that's what I do. I'm an athlete, and I've had this mentality of, stand strong and encourage my teammates and everything above it. I was one of the best encouragers on the team, and that's what my old coach loved about me. The fact that I always encouraged the team during the matches, tell them what to do, tell them what to do, more than I would ever do my own self. And that is how dedicated, that is how I am towards my team. And when I would wrestle myself, always put out a good effort for the most part. I've put up a lot of matches on YouTube that I had this season. Couldn't do it last season because last season I didn't have a YouTube channel going on back then. But this season just passed, I posted a lot of my wrestling matches. I posted a lot of my teammates' wrestling matches because that's how much I care and that's how much I'm really into this thing. But, my thing is with them knowing how determined I am, with them knowing how much effort I put into matches, with them knowing all of these things, I just would really want them to understand that, with all of that, sometimes you got to make decisions that are not necessarily something that everyone else is going to agree with. And I know if I had told my old wrestling coach this, because I don't have the same coach I had last season, he would probably be able to understand where I'm coming from. Because he made the decision himself that he couldn't coach us this season. So he would kind of understand it. But this is more on a different level, you see. I've loved this thing for my entire life. And when I came to high school, I had the vow that I was going to join a wrestling team, and I did just that. But one of the things that has really, really been crazy is the amount, and I mean the crazy amount, of body issues that I have been having as of late. And it almost seems like it is getting worse and worse and worse. It has not gotten to the point where I need to get to the hospital. But every time something happens, I always fear that something can break. Because, there's a lot of people that have actually had injuries that have taken them out. And I always got to worry about how my mom said if I had one injury, she's taking me off the team. So it's just really stuff like that always sticks through the back of my head. But the reality is that me, myself, I don't feel comfortable continuing to do something when I think about the future. Because when you strive to continue, and there's nothing wrong with it because it's your goal and it's what I love. But the thing about it is that it might not affect you now, but it will affect you when you get older in the long run. And one of the things, like I've said, bodies are not meant to be broken. And when your body does get broken, it is a tremendous issue. And it is something that can never be fixed, because even when it is fixed, you will still suffer problems when you get older. And I always look back and I always think. And every day I wonder if I'm going to be able to continue this thing. Because the amount of pain that I have had with my body, with my back, that has really had an issue since wrestling season had ended this season. I had an issue with my leg for a while. In fact, during one of the matches, I had an issue with my leg, but when I wrestled, you would have never been able to tell it was something wrong because it was not feeling right that day, and it's just this drive I have for doing the thing. It's just this drive that I have for trying to, wrestle and to try to get my skill to go, because my whole thing this season was to be the best I can be. My whole thing this season was have the beast be unleashed, and I couldn't get that done if I wasn't putting it all out there, if I wasn't, putting it really, really out there. And for the longest, at first I didn't really wear knee pads, but I finally started wearing knee pads, and they helped me out a little bit more because I didn't really have to worry about issue with my knees. But the thing is that as wrestling season had continued, when we would do stuff like practice and shots, I got more and more afraid to press my knee down on the mat, because my knee would easily bleed even with knee pads on. And this was continuing to happen this season. And it was crazy. And like I said, it was always something that happened to me during some of the practices. One time I ended up getting a scratch on my face. One time I hurt my arm during a practice. And it wasn't even serious injuries, but it was just little things that was happening. And like now, wrestling season ended. It ended just about 2 months ago for me for me at least, because it really ended at the very beginning of March, because that's when the state's championship was, but it ended about 2 months ago. And I just really think back about this, and I don't know if I can really do this no more. And you know, they say that to never give up, and what I'm doing is I'm not giving up. That's not what it is. What I'm doing is I'm trying to protect my health. I'm trying to protect something that could be could be in very horrible condition if I continue it. And the thing is that like I said, I don't know if my new coach would be able to understand if I had a serious talk with him about this, because I think if I had done this season, if I had wrestled again next season, that is a possibility that I would not do it my senior year. I just want my coach to be able to understand that, because I don't think he would understand where I'm coming from. He would be telling me, keep wrestling, all that stuff. But this is a really, really, really serious issue here. You can't, the amount of pain I've been feeling, it almost feels like I'm afraid that all it's going to take is for me to continue wrestling, and then something really serious can happen. And I don't want that. And like I said, with all the love I have, giving up a dream is hard to do. And I'm not saying that I fully am giving up, but what I'm saying is that the love, the inspiration, the desire that I have for this sport will never go away. But me, myself, doing it, I begin to wonder how long I want to do it. I literally had a future planned that when I got to college, I was going to continue to wrestle. It's still on my mind, but that can very well change, because you do not want to mess up. Sometimes you got to be careful for the decisions that you make. And you see, with the issues I'm having now, and the fact that I know in college they practice 10 times harder than this, 10 times harder in college than they do in high school when it comes to wrestling. It's almost like if I wrestled in college, I would even be more likely to get an injury. And, the thing they say is, don't think negatively. And I'm not thinking negatively. That's not what I'm doing. But I've literally have had, and have just had, because of not just wrestling that I do, but also I've had experiences where I've had injuries with my body that's really scared me to death as to whether I can really continue to do this any longer. And I just wanted to really address this, because sometimes there are dreams that you have that you just cannot do all the time that you want to do it. And this for me was a dream. This was a dream for me. This was not my goal in life as a grown man, but it was a dream of me to go from high school to college and wrestle. That's what I wanted to do. That was my thing. I didn't want to do nothing else. When I get to college, I got my major. That's other than that, but I wanted to wrestle. That was my thing. And it's sad. It really is that I think I might not be able to do it. I just might not be able to do it. And if I continue to wrestle in high school, this season coming up as a third-year wrestler, this might be it. I might not be able to do it all for years. I might not be able to handle it, because it's just the amount of pain. It's not the wrestling itself. It's me in general. It's my own body that I've seen that has transformed, and the injuries that I've suffered. It is all of that. So with all of that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that. And I will talk to you guys another day. Peace.